The Cataclysm and Fire Force is making major changes to the series, from the start of the apocalypse to restructuring our world and even creating talking animals. But despite all of this, there is still something we are all overlooking. Just what exactly is going to happen to humanity? How is madness going to affect humanity as we know it? In order to find the answer to this, we need to take a step back and take a look at Giovanni. Throughout the series, one would assume that everything that he is saying is a bunch of cultist nonsense, but in actuality, he knows exactly what's going to happen. When Shinra and Arthur are fighting Giovanni, he tells us that humans wish for destruction. Shinra retaliates and tells Giovanni that he cannot decide what happens to humanity. Then Giovanni responds with, "So you're saying the Fire Force will rob humanity of their chance to attain a higher dimension via destruction?" This right here is crazy, because what this means is that humanity will evolve and reach a higher dimension through death after the cataclysm. This is all possible because of the spell of destruction Pi, and through this, it will bring mankind's evolution to its terminus, or this higher dimension. In any case, I believe you have an interest in Kishin. I can't seriously believe you came here just to observe meisters and weapons. You know, don't you, which Medusa, a Kishin, rests beneath DWMA. Damn kid, if Shinigami wasn't here, I'd kill you right now. I'll take you apart. You don't have to hold back. Why don't you go ahead and take down your protection? You're right, my goal is to resurrect the first Kishin. So that's what the black blood is for. But why? The power of the Kishin goes beyond human understanding. It is evolution itself. Shinigami and you at DWMA have watched over and protected the world by acting as a deterrent to that power. DWMA's intent can be summed up in one expression: maintain the status quo. But time moves forward. Isn't it logical that we grow and advance along with it? It's only natural. Dr. Stein, do you really want a monotonous world where nothing ever changes? You're a scientist like me. You understand, don't you? Isn't it funny how Giovanni and Medusa are both scientists, and that they both seek the evolution of humanity? This higher stage will be the removal of our status quo, the structure of our world, and the order that Shinigami or God maintains. In order to understand what exactly it is that I'm talking about, I have to tell you what exactly madness is. The madness of knowledge, the madness of power, and of course the madness of fear. But what is madness exactly? Madness arises because order exists, or perhaps order arose because madness exists. But it really doesn't matter which came first. It's like the chicken and the egg. When there is order, when there are a form of rules, madness is when those rules are meant to be broken. Madness exists because order exists. Because only when you are restricted can you then become unrestricted. Madness would be anything that isn't controlled, like uncontrolled thoughts or information. It's like when you think of something scary without actually wanting to think it. It was uncontrolled and it just appeared in your head. Whenever something isn't in order or isn't following the status quo, it would be madness. The laws of our universe, or the structure of our world, tells us that animals shouldn't be able to speak and that pigs can't fly. But the moment either one of those happen, it would be considered madness. Our God, our Shinigami in this case, prevents pigs from flying and gives order to our world. He gives our world structure and a status quo. God ultimately determines what's order and what's madness. Because when you are God, you're the ruler of the cosmos. Now let's think about this. Every human has uncontrolled thoughts. You know, those scary thoughts that you don't like to have. Now if Adala is hell and is made up of our perceptions, hell would be no different than madness and is a buildup of all of our collective unconscious. That would make hell a buildup of all of humanity's uncontrolled thoughts, or in this case, madness. All of these uncontrolled thoughts are going to collide on the earth and make humanity reach a higher plane. Even if humanity isn't directly thinking of these horrible things or even thinking of death, they have made a buildup of uncontrolled thoughts, and this would be what hell is. Our uncontrolled unconscious and emotions are what make up Adala, or in this case, hell, and how May absorbs the wickedness and cruelty of mankind's collective unconsciousness, which again makes up hell, which is made up of madness or humanity's uncontrolled thoughts. And all of this will collide on Earth, officially making the world hell on Earth. Now, if we think about the first cataclysm and the after effects of it, we can find some interesting information. Since we know that Adala is a world beyond imagination and that it's a buildup of humanity's perception, let's think of it like this. During the first cataclysm, the world went from real life to anime land. But not only this, it brought spontaneous human combustion and flame humans. SHC is caused by doppelgangers merging with the humans of their world. And also, doppelgangers are the demon version of yourself. More or less, first generations cannot handle their fire powers, so they go berserk once they're merged with their doppelgangers. Because as first generations, their bodies have not yet adapted to the flames of Adala. In other words, they are too far back in the human evolution process. But when it comes to second and third gens, they are compatible with the flames of Adala. The world made out of humanity's perceptions, a world beyond imagination. As this world gets closer, the second and third generations have been getting stronger, because they are the closest humans to evolving or reaching this higher dimension. Let's think about it like this. Adala is human perception and is made out of the thoughts of humanity. Third generations and second generations use pyrokinesis. They use their minds to create flames, manipulate them, and make constructions out of fire. In other words, they use their thoughts to use their abilities. And Arthur is a good example of this. The more he thinks of himself as a knight, the stronger he gets. And this power comes from his imagination. Because the more he imagines himself as a knight, the stronger he is. And this same thing happens with Shinra when he is fighting Charon. When he first tries to use the sign of horns for his Corona technique, he cannot use it properly because of the way he perceives the sign. Because at first he sees it as the sign of the devil, until Obi shows Shinra that it has an association with rock music. And this is what changes Shinra's perception of the hand sign and allows him to use the ability. Pyrokinetic abilities, just like Adala, are connected to the user's perception and imagination. Now, second and third generations use their fire and imagination when it comes to their abilities, and Adala is a land based on thoughts and human perception. When the first cataclysm happened, humans developed the abilities to use their thoughts to control and manipulate fire. With the next cataclysm happening after death, what is the next stage in this evolution? What exactly is this higher dimension that humanity will attain? What evolution will come through the Kishin's power? Again, the world will be consumed in madness and humanity will evolve. If all of these ideas collapse onto humanity, they will evolve and change. Humanity and the world as we know it will begin to embody those perceptions. Shinra will become a demon, Arthur will become a knight, Maki will become a witch, Sho will become an angel, and Benimaru will become a god. They will evolve and embody these perceptions. Don't you think it's funny how the Kishin's power is tied to humanity's evolution? Now we have a bunch of pyrokinetics running around who are almost evolved. Isn't it strange how madness takes the form of fire, and the Kishin just so happens to use fire? This entire time, these pyrokinetic abilities have been the Kishin's power. These pyrokinetic abilities are madness. This only makes more sense considering the Evangelist is a Kishin, and everyone in the series was worshipping her. Every single character in Fire Force is no different than Justin. The flames, the robes, and worshipping madness. Everything will burn and life will renew.
The collapse has begun. In this world of magnetism, the events of a single hour can repeat without end. Observe this flower. Reset. Given your love of order, surely you must find this flower and its environment, all repeating in perfect precision, to be comforting.
In the world of Fire Force, this is a scenario where Medusa actually wins. Giovanni and Medusa's plans of evolving humanity will now be brought to life. with everyone in society following the Kishin like the very first fire soldier, Justin. Who knows what type of place the world is going to embody? What type of madness is the world going to fall into?